Takže zdravím všechny fanoušky ESP Guitars, jsem Tom z kapely Blackshard a dneska je tady se mnou vzácný host Mille Petrozza z kapely Kreator. Hi Mille, how are you doing?
Good.
Good. Okay, so first of all, we want to appreciate that you make the time for us, you know, and in your tight schedule, I'm pretty sure it was pretty hard. Thank you very much.
Oh, always, man. Don't worry about it.
Okay, so first some geeky questions about gear, you know. So you were with different guitar company for many years.
Mm-hmm.
What made you switch to ESP?
Basically, I was at a different guitar company at the for, like you said, for quite a long time, and I thought that the overall ESP, a lot of the things were more advanced, and a lot of the things that I was looking at were more would fit a lot better to what I want from a guitar, and also the overall kind of like family vibe and the service. You know, it was very, very nice to know that there's people at ESP that care about the artist.
Yeah.
And that was the main reason. It was very much a decision where I was really like looking for something else, and some, you know, especially since I have a signature model, and working on that with people that kind of understand, people that have been creating metal guitars for many years, made it a lot easier.
Yeah. And do you also use LTD versions, or you have only the E2
I
versions?
got LTDs, but those are just perfect.
Yeah.
It's just perfect.
Not a big difference, right?
No, not at all.
Okay. I noticed that your signature also features Fishman Fluence pickups.
Yes.
And I know that your tech, Mark Niedersberg, because I was the guy on Facebook, is a big fan of them. So was it like his idea?
No. He was suggesting it, and we were checking it out in the studio, and so he comes up with a lot of suggestions all the time, and sometimes we both agree that it's working out, and sometimes we agree that it's not working out.
Yeah.
With Fishman, it was like it was a no-brainer. You put them in, and it's like, whoa. There's some clarity. There's some tone that you cannot find in any other pickups.
Yeah, they're built in a quite innovative way, I would say.
Yeah, you can still keep the distortion, but you can hear the tone of each individual string.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I was always looking for. Yeah. And they used to build pickups for acoustic guitars, so they have a whole different approach on how they work on their pickups. So it's definitely a step forward in sound and sound quality.
Yeah. And do you also use some other ESP models at home, or only your signature Bs?
I use at home. I use a Les Paul style guitar.
Yeah.
With a Evertune.
Yeah.
So I hate tuning.
That was basically my next question, because Evertune is also very cool.
We have worked in the studio. We worked with the Evertune system on one of my ESP Les Pauls, and it worked really nice. And my producer Jens, he found a way of, you know, when you have to put the Evertune on a guitar, the guitar tends to sound sometimes even too perfect, because the little out of tune tone that you get, like when you hit the guitar string really hard, it swings out of tune just like a hair. And sometimes when you put the Evertune on, it's like bam, and you can hit it as hard as possible. So my producer Jens, he found a way of like using the Evertune in a way where you can still get that little bit of the excitement of the guitar almost going out of tune, without losing the greatness of the Evertune system.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. There's a lot of tweaking always involved with
Yes.
that. Yeah, of course. Thank you. So, what is the most important aspect of a guitar when you like design a guitar or you want a new model? What is the most important thing for you?
It's got to feel right. You know, I'm not I'm not just a guitar player, I'm also a singer and a songwriter. So to me, it's a tool that has to work without me having to think about it. So that's the most important part. And I've always played Les Pauls and mainly V shapes. So I need to find I needed to find a shape where I can move around on stage without feeling like I have a guitar on me. It has to feel like a part of my body.
Yeah.
So we designed this shape for me, and it worked really well. So the guitar's not too heavy, but still has the tone. It still has the brutal tone and aggressive sound. And it's a lot of wood, but it's still light. You know, it's not. It doesn't feel like you have like a. Sometimes some of my Les Pauls that I have at home feel really heavy. Like I have like original Les Paul, Gibson Les Pauls, and they feel a little heavy on stage. So I like the fact that those guitars are not. They have high quality woods, but they feel lighter somehow.
Yeah. Okay. And could you tell us a little bit about your gear that you use in studio and live? I mean, pedals, amps, and stuff.
I use a lot of PV amps in the studio. I use my signature model, the Engel Extreme Regressions, and Mesa Boogie. Sometimes the what's it called? There's this one great amp that I have.
They have a lot of stuff. Dual recto and stuff.
The dual rectifier, of course.
Yeah.
But there's
Mark
this,
4, Mark 5.
a lot of them. The Jens has them all in the studio. Yeah. But there's this. Sometimes you use Bogner, and sometimes I use the. I don't know what it's called, but it's a great amp. I will remember.
So you can tell us in advance. Okay.
The Diesel.
Diesel. Yeah, I know Diesels. I think James Hetfield uses them.
Yeah, amazing tone.
Okay, but I also noticed that you use Kemper Live. Is it like the best?
It has. You know, I don't want to. When I go on tour, I want to make everyone's life easy. So my crew and our stage show is very theatrical. So you don't see amps on stage anyway. Meaning that we focus on the light show and there's no amps visible. Yeah. So we figured if we can make a perfect duplication of my amps that I'm using on the road, putting in there with fresh tubes, always sounding the same, and having less problems miking the amps.
Of course.
It's a plus. It makes my life easier, it makes the crew's life easier, and I can have the same guitar tone every night. Yeah. You know, we were a band that plays concerts worldwide. So sometimes we have to rely on equipment that the local promoter, back when there was no campers, we had to rely on equipment that the promoter was renting out for us. So and most of them meant well, and we got like, most of the times they had your PVs, your Mesa Boogies, whatever, but sometimes the tubes were old.
Yeah.
And or just the amp was just not sounding right. So you had to play a show, and you had to struggle to get a tone that's acceptable for a Kreator show, and that was always a struggle. And Kemper makes my life and my tech's life a lot easier, and also my front of house guy, he loves the Kemper.
Yeah. It's just plug in direct. And
it's just the direct tone, and you can tweak it. There's no outside noises, so it makes the tone a lot more direct.
Yeah. Without
losing the punch, you know. People always tend to be very afraid when it comes to digital amplifiers, because back in the past there was some people tried to reproduce those amp sounds, but they failed. And Kemper, in my opinion, is the first company that is able to reproduce a sound like almost a 99%.
Yeah.
You know.
So this leads me to our next question: digital or analog? I mean,
analog.
Tube.
Analog. Tube.
Digital.
Tube.
All the way. Yeah?
All the way. All the way. In the studio, especially.
Yeah. Okay. And from the point of like the end listener, do you think that they will like it more when it's analog, or they wouldn't actually care in the end?
I could tell you a couple of examples of records that I know have been recorded with Kemper amps, where you wouldn't know it's a Kemper.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that
yes.
Exodus did the last record on Kemper. At least Gary Holt mentions.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So.
And so I don't think the audience, unless they're like real experts on audio quality and audio almost like science, they wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah.
But I know the I feel the difference when I'm in the studio. So I think, depending on who I work with, I know that Jens doesn't want to work with the Kemper in the studio. And I see his point, because in the studio we're using all analog equipment. We're using the amps, we're using the pedals, the old school Boss pedal, Echo pedal. We use the tube streamer, stuff that I've used on Pleasure to Kill.
Yeah. Back in the day.
Yeah.
Okay, and about your singing and guitar practicing, do you do anything? Do you do any special practices before show and stuff like that?
Yeah, we have a rehearsal room.
I mean, like, just you personally. How do you practice?
I practice with the whole band. We have a rehearsal room.
Yeah.
Where we have a electronic drum kit and some small amps, and we just play a couple songs before we go on. It works fine. I'm not the kind of singer that has to warm up. I warm up with the band, and so I go on. When go on stage, I've already played like 3 or 4 songs.
Yeah. And when you started back in the day, when you were a kid, and when you started playing guitar, what was the trickiest technique for you to learn on a guitar?
I came up with my own kind of technique. I was never a big fan of learning. When I was growing up in the late 80s, a lot of people would go to the GIT Institute in Los Angeles. And there was a couple of guitar players from Germany that went there, and then they came back with a huge head. Saying, man, I know all the tricks. I'm like, okay, but can you write a song? So to me, it's the less I know, the more imagination. There's a couple of songs where I was working with, I always have great guitar players in my band, like Tommy Fetterly, for example, or Sami now, and he's explaining to me what I'm doing when I'm writing songs. He's like, oh, this is like a chromatic jump from a B minor 5, and I'm like, okay, but just play, just play it. And I think the more you know about the theory of music, sometimes it kind of blocks your mind, because you think somebody decided that it doesn't work, and then you in your mind come up with the idea that certain things don't work, and I'd rather keep that open.
Yeah, I think
I know a lot of things, about musical theory, but I don't know so much that it blocks my imagination.
Yeah, totally true. I think there are many guitar players out there who are technical masters, but when it comes to songwriting, they lack. Yeah, of course. Okay, so let's get to the next, let's say, part of the interview, more about the band stuff, because you released The Gods of Violence last year, which is personally one of the most played records in my playlist last year.
Oh, that's good.
I really like it. How does the band policy work nowadays after so many years? How do you decide on important decisions? Like, is it like one man's decision, or do you do a democratic selection?
We're a team.
Yeah,
we're definitely a team. It's not like that. There's certain things we have to. We agree on musical terms a lot. We know how metal should sound. I guess there are certain decisions that I sometimes make myself when, let's say, the record is too long. Somebody has to decide which songs to take off. That's mostly me and my producer, because the rest of the band is already at home. And but those are minor decisions that we can all agree on.
Yeah. And what's your approach like to songwriting and to composition? I mean, even as you as personally and even as a band, is it like that kind of band where one man comes with the whole song and the rest just add flavor?
I write all the songs at home.
Yeah.
And then I record demos and bring it to the band. There's like at least when every writing session when we start, I already have like 5 to 6, 7 songs of the whole record written, and as we go along, I have a friend at home who owns a studio, and we would keep recording. Sometimes we go into rehearsal and I bring the song and we arrange it together. But most of the times it's I need to live with the song for a little bit. So that means we're not a band that rehearses when we're not on tour. Only when we go in the studio we take like a half year of rehearsal 3 times a week. Like very old school.
That's very old school schedule.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe it's too soon, but do you work on some new material already, or no, is it too
I have
soon
a couple
after?
of riffs. Yeah, I have a couple of riffs, but it's too early. I try to collect themes. I try to collect like cool topics to write songs about. But at this point, I'm really busy touring.
Yeah, can imagine. Okay, we have also one fun question because we made it, topic on the ESP side on Facebook, and we chose one, and this is. So this is from a fan. Do you consider yourself as one of the musicians who shaped the genre?
I don't know.
And it continues also. And how do you feel about people approaching you this way?
I feel, of course, I feel flattered and honored, but to me, it's like I do my thing. I just don't want to. I'm happy if my music can touch and reach people, and I'm happy when people get like something out of it, which is a beautiful thing. I was the same way when I was growing up. There was my absolute like favorite bands that I could relate to, and there's a strong connection.
Yeah.
And I'm happy if I can be the communicator between my emotions and what people go through in their lives. That's a gift.
Yeah.
And
totally.
but being the whatever, I mean, when I started, I went through a school like old school thrash metal, very old school black metal, death metal, the roots of the death metal, early hard rock stuff. So I took from other bands, and made it my own, and that's how people should see. There's no, when you start your own band, you should never like just focus on sounding just like one band, but you could be inspired by a lot of like bands that you like and come up with your own style. Yeah,
exactly. So, when it comes to your personal preference, do you like more bands who like evolve with each record sonically and musically even, or do you like prefer the old school bands who stick to their roots and release the same records over and over and over?
That depends on the band.
Yeah.
There's certain bands where I want them to experiment, and there are certain bands where I just like excitement. I just like to be. If I put on a record, I should be able to become very, very hyped up, and when I listen to the music, and that's the bottom line. Yeah. There's no formula of what makes me like your record. But if it's exciting and it's something new and special, there's even some bands, believe it or not, where I only like the first record. And then when they put out the second record, I was like, why didn't they split up after the first one? I wouldn't mention any names, but there's a certain concept that strikes me so hard, and it's like, oh, this is so new. And then they release another record, and it doesn't live up. You know what I mean? So, just so like I said, there's all kinds of different flavors, and I wouldn't say that I'm this or that guy. I would just say that there's so many different bands and so much to explore, and I'm always looking for new talents and new metal stuff, and also in other genres. I listen to all kinds of music.
Yeah. Hopefully there's more of them.
There's always a lot of them.
Okay, was there a point in your career where you felt like, okay, stop, I'm quitting, I'm not doing music anymore, I just don't want to do this anymore?
See, the thing is, once you submit your life to playing music, there are certain things that you could have less of, like maybe less traveling.
Yeah.
And there are certain things that could be, how do I put this? music is always going to be a part of my life. I'm always going to imagine songs in my mind and put them on tape and put them out somehow.
Yeah, I was meaning it like more from the perspective of touring musician and doing the
Touring
gigs all-
musicians, I could like sometimes, you know, having to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and drive to an airport. It's hell on earth.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So there's nothing glamorous about that.
Yeah. These are the times which fans don't see, you know.
No, of course not, and they don't have to see it, and I don't wanna be like whiny about it. I still try to keep very straight and positive and see it as a part of the game, but it's hard sometimes.
Yeah. And what would be like? Imagine you are young, or not meaning that you are old, but you are very young, Mille Petrozza, before starting back then Tyrant already it was. And you wouldn't start it. What would you do nowadays if you wouldn't do music?
I would do something that has to do with people.
Yeah.
I would do something where I can communicate. You know, I don't know what. I'm just happy that it turned out that way. When to me, you know, time is not existent, so it just still feels like I can still recall the first night when I discovered that I loved playing guitar. I was staying away all fucking night, and I never did that before in my whole life. And it kind of, I got my first guitar and my first amp, and I plugged it in like say 9 o'clock in the evening, and when I stopped playing, it was 9 o'clock in the morning, and that was that night changed my life. And I'm just happy that happened. So. I wouldn't know really.
And when it like really started to get serious and professional, was your family supportive or were they
Oh yeah,
afraid?
always. They were giving me a lot of money for my first. I was a big fan of Adrian Smith from Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
So he played this Ibanez Destroyer guitar.
Yeah, that's like explorer shaped
yes,
thing.
and
Yeah.
I saved all my money, and my parents were like, okay, the last 200 Deutschmarks we give you, you know, and then the guitar came to my parents' house, and I was like, fuck, this is so amazing. It blew my mind. And that's the moment when I thought I was a professional musician.
So, and actually, it's a question totally out of everything we discussed, but as a touring musician, a long time in buses and stuff like that, are you a gamer? Do you play some games?
No, not at all.
Yep.
I was into the arcade games, like the old school Phoenix and you know, that kind of stuff. But I was never into the new. When I was getting my first computer in the mid '90s. I played Quake and Doom for a little bit.
Yeah, these are
But
old
that's
school.
But that's it. After that, I lost interest.
Yeah, but these are the old school golden ones. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
everybody
yeah.
loves even nowadays.
Yeah.
So, every Kreator fan, I suppose, I hope, knows that you are a big movie fan. Was there some movie in your life that totally changed your life?
Yes, Eraserhead by
Yeah.
David Lynch.
David Lynch.
When I first saw Eraserhead, I was so blown away that how much he can just. It was a different level of communication. It that movie touches your subconscious, and I think there's certain music that can do the same. So I would try to transport that into my music. I know that I should never compare myself to a genius like David Lynch, but it was very inspiring.
Yeah, this one is also on my list, and I haven't seen it yet, so I have to
It's
check it
very
out.
trippy. It's very trippy.
Okay.
There's a newer one called Turin Horse. The Turin Horse. It's kind of like the modern day Razorhead, but it's even more trippy, and it doesn't do the same thing to me. And there's a newer one by Aronofsky called Mother. That's also pretty good.
I have seen it.
It's good, isn't it?
Like 2 weeks ago.
It's great, isn't it?
I couldn't sleep all night because I was thinking about it over and over. It was so like unexpected. The ending.
Yes,
it was
yes.
very
It's
weird. Amazing and weird at the same time. Okay, so you are vegan for like lot of years already. I'm thinking everybody knows that. I was wondering, is there some ethical reason behind it, or is it just to have a healthy lifestyle?
Yeah, both.
Both.
It's a mix between both. I mean, I don't want to support certain cruelty that's going on, animal cruelty. I just don't want to support it. I mean, I'm not judging people that do. I just think I don't want to be a part of it. And so it's a mixture between political statement and a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's logical to me.
Okay. Thanks. So we are leaning towards the end. Last two questions. Is there any younger band which became famous in the last 10 or 15 years who really inspire you and you really consider yourself their big fan?
Yeah, many.
Yeah.
There's many of those.
Could you name some?
The last band that I really got into was Seal and Ardor, for example. Then there's certain Swedish thrash metal band like Vampire. I'm a big fan of those bands, and then there's always underground stuff that nobody knows about that I will get really into. And also I'm a big fan of moody music like Alexandra Savior, for example, or Lana Del Rey, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's
so. I'm into great music, I just explore all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, Lana Del Rey is awesome. I also like her. So, last question and funny question. Are there any musical guilty pleasures? Something you have?
To me, there's no such thing.
No?
No, I just think music shouldn't be a guilty pleasure.
Yeah, so you are never ashamed of anything you listen to?
No.
Great. me neither, but some people are.
It's just, I think that has to do with how people see themselves. They think it's not cool to listen to certain music.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's not about them that they don't want to listen to that music. They just feel ashamed because they think if people know that they're listening to that stuff, they don't see them as cool as before.
Yeah. True, totally true. So once again, thank you, Mille, thank you for your time. Thanks. So, takže tohle byl Mille Petrozza. Určitě čekněte nějaký jejich koncert z Kreator na současném turné a taky čekněte jeho signature ESP, které je moc zajímavá kytara. Mějte se.